Welcome to Smashmouth Selling the Gentle Way. How would you like it if your customers sold themselves? In this recession, Royce? Sure. Yeah, right. Well, you can get your customers to actually sell themselves. Are people more cautious about spending their money? Absolutely. Does this mean they're not going to spend it all? No. People want what they want, and they always have. You know what they want now? They want value. Let me ask you something. You ever gone to buy something you were really interested in, really wanted? You run into a salesperson at that store that's really annoying, really trying to sell you to the point that they really turn you off. Even though you wanted this product or service in the first place, they're pushing you so hard that you want to turn and run. These guys are Smashmouth selling. They want to sell you and sell you hard. They want to close you. Why are these so-called sales professionals triggering your sales resistance? Well, they believe in that long-held sales belief that it's all about numbers, right? Which is partially true. It's like the guy that goes up and down the street and asks every woman he meets if she'd like to sleep with him. Does he get a lot of no's? Does he get his face slapped? Does he get lawsuits? Yeah. He also gets a lot of sex. So it is part of numbers, right? Nobody likes to be sold. However, everybody likes to buy. Come on, admit it. All of us like to buy. And guess what? When we really want it, price doesn't play that big of a part, does it? We always buy on emotion. Even in this recession, we buy on emotion, rationalize it with logic. What you need to discover is how to sell Smashmouth, but doing it the gentle way, the totally opposite way of getting in the customer's faces and triggering or increasing that sales resistance. Now, we really don't have time to get into it all here, but maybe you've heard of needs analysis selling. NAS is a process of asking prospects the right kinds of questions and letting them identify their problems to you. Not only to you, but most importantly, to themselves. You don't want to try to sell them anything during that first sales call. Now, I realize this concept might shock and terrify a lot of folks, especially you sales managers out there, right? What do you mean you don't sell anything on the first call? Well, what about my time and the setup and my gas? What about the planet? Well, let's look at the logic behind this idea, right? Your first meeting with a prospect should be a rapport building and needs identifying sales call. I do believe it was Mr. Paul Harvey that said, closing sales becomes effortless if preceded by trust. In these times, you need to take a genuine interest in your prospect's challenges. And I do mean genuine. As a matter of fact, right at the beginning of the very first meeting, you should actually tell that prospect you don't even know whether your company and his company are right for each other. You're not even sure if you should even move forward. You'll need to ask some questions so you can discover if there are any reasons to move forward with his company or not. You know what that's called? That's called a little takeaway is what that's called. And guess what? People want that which they cannot have. And to suggest that maybe they can't have what you have to offer instantly makes them want it even more. Needs analysis selling recognizes that all human beings respond in specific ways in specific situations. So in a selling situation, do you think it would be useful to know how people respond? I think so. That's what Smashmouth Selling the Gentle Way is all about. Let's say, for example, somebody came up to you and started telling you that, hey, buddy, you got a problem, but you know what? I can solve it for you. Your natural reaction would be to deny the problem, right? Especially if you actually have the problem. It's human nature. No one likes to be told about problems they have by someone else, especially people we don't know. We usually don't like hearing the truth, especially when it's bad, and especially when it's about us. We feel the guy delivering the message needs to what? Mind his own business. We kind of like metaphorically want to kill the messenger. You know what? We usually don't buy from people we like to kill. However, if you were to reverse that situation and you actually seek out someone to confide in about your problems, someone to help you, then you would be very receptive to the solutions offered by that person, wouldn't you? Absolutely. We've asked their advice. So, how does an unknown salesperson, you, get the prospect to confide in him or her? Well, surprisingly, it's pretty easy. You ask questions. Not just questions, but the right kinds of questions. On SmashmouthSelling.com, you'll have access to a whole catalog of questions and questioning techniques. Now, for example, the prospect has a sales force and maybe only one salesperson is doing a great job. The others, they're okay. They're kind of mediocre. At this point, it is very important that you do not offer any solutions. Oh, but wait a second, Royce. Oh, wait, I've got a solution for that. I have the perfect comeback. As a matter of fact, we learned it in week 3 in sales training. I repeat, do not offer any solutions at this point. And it's just as important that you leave the prospect believing that you do have the solutions to his problems. That's not asking too much, is it? How do you do that? Okay, well, it's pretty simple. You ask another question. What you're telling me is that if all of your salespeople could sell like your number one guy, that would increase your number of new customers and that would make you happy, right? Of course he's going to say yes. All you did was reaffirm that which he already admitted to. But by reaffirming what he said in the question format, you implied that you have the answer to the problem without ever actually saying you do. See, the implications of the question communicated to the prospect's subconscious mind is that you must have a solution, otherwise you wouldn't have asked the question in the first place. So you need to do a little homework here. You need to prepare in advance. Get a series of questions together that you can ask your prospects because you're going to get the same ones over and over and over again, right? When I give one of our marketing clinics, I hand out a questionnaire with 21 questions on it. They're very calculated questions, eye-opening marketing questions, as a matter of fact, that can really help identify ways to increase sales. By the way, you get those powerful questions with the Smashmouth Selling DVD. Just thought I'd throw that in there for you. It's important to ask the questions and, more important, to listen to what the prospect is telling you and then reaffirm his or her answers in that question format. Will that make you happy? Is that what you're after? Or, depending on the client, yeah, dude, yeah, that'll do it. After you've collected the answers to the questions, it's frankly time to leave without trying to sell anything. What you do is make an appointment to report those conclusions of your needs analysis for that client. And, of course, you leave without providing solutions or trying to sell anything. What about the planet? The idea is to leave the prospect thinking something like, wow, you know what? That guy didn't try to sell me anything. He must really care about me and my business. By the way, if you do really care about the prospect and their business, which you should, well, then you should be trying to discover what his or her needs are before you arbitrarily try to sell them a product or service. Frankly, he may not need it or may not want it, and which in my personal marketing philosophy means you don't sell it to them. All right? Once you leave meeting number 1, you prepare your presentation for the next meeting. And guess what? You're not going to sell anything at the second meeting either. That's right. Royce, what are you talking about? No, this time you're going to go over the problems the prospect identified in your first meeting using the prospect's own words from that meeting. You're going to say things like, well, Bob, you know, in our last meeting, you said X and Y are causing you problems. And if you get rid of those problems, your productivity would increase and profits along with it, right? This is the meeting that you're going to let the prospect buy. That's right, you're going to let them buy. Now here is the best part of the whole needs analysis system, the beauty of the system. You're only going to address the problems or needs the prospect has already identified, right? They admitted to it, and you only have to address the problems you can solve. That's right, the prospect may have identified several problems, but you don't have to solve them all. No way. In fact, it might be wise to tell your prospect this. Closing is simply a question of when you use the prospect's own words about his or her problems and then present the solution he or she wants. The prospect would virtually be turning down themselves if they were to say no. So make sure you go ahead and ask for the order at that point. You know, there's so much more I'd like to share, and I do. You can check it out right now at smashmouthselling.com. You know, selling in a recession can not only be done, but for a lot of businesses, it's actually easier right now. Check it out and check out all the details. Once again, smashmouthselling.com is the place to go. It's Roy saying, hey, thanks for watching, and share me.